So, yeah, so to start, I guess you said you had a few questions. What's up?
Yeah. So what would you say are like the best secondaries for Olimar?
So, I think he's very much a specialist type of character. He's someone you want to put a lot of time into to really learn, but if you do want secondaries, Palutena was definitely like the go-to to me because she was so straightforward. And I think she's still good even with like the nerfs. So that probably isn't a bad thing to put your time to because you don't have to commit to this like massive learning curve or specialty kind of play style with her. Alternatively, I think someone like you could even go for like Wolf or Lucina. You want these more straightforward characters so that you can focus what kind of time you put into learning just the character goes into Olimar, and then the other ones are kind of carried by your fundamentals, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, do you know, if you're looking for a secondary, is there a specific reason or matchups why? Like, what is kind of the reason that you want that?
My reason is just being like if I have trouble in a matchup and I don't think I can do it, I want to switch to an easier character so I can just
Gotcha. Okay.
more.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's definitely one you'll kind of need to feel out, but I would recommend either playing around with Wolf Lucina or Palu. I think those are all really solid characters that can provide some strength for you.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, with Olimar, you're definitely going to get into those moments where it just seems really hard or not worth it. And if you are going to pick up a secondary and kind of have like a multiple character spread, you need to be really sure to make the most out of it, in my opinion, why you're counter picking. Because if you're doing it just because it's hard, you might be doing yourself like maybe like a short term success, but long term, you're not really giving yourself the benefit of the doubt, right? Because you're not letting yourself kind of learn how to deal with these things. So don't be afraid to work through a matchup if it's tough. Because you need to understand why you're switching, right? If you're playing Olimar and you're like, man, I can't seem to land, right? Or you have a more specific reason, you're like, okay, well, if I go Palutena, I don't have that problem. That makes more sense than just going, I'm losing, I don't know why, let me try a different character. Not to say you can't do that, but you want to try and understand every option you're choosing, even when it comes to character selection, so that after that set or after whatever it is, you can reflect back and go, okay, why did I have to switch? And then you're able to pull from that for the future, and you can learn. So you can maybe next time go, all right, I'm not really liking that Wolf Olimar matchup. I think I'll start with Palutena next time and save myself the trouble.
So find a secondary to enhance like what I'm doing wrong. Like since Palutena can land easier, play Palutena instead because
If that is something you're looking for, I'm very much like a solo Olimar main. Like that's what I like to do because I think the character has it in himself to be able to kind of keep up with his flaws. But it's not like I know a lot of Olimar players who have secondaries, and that's not necessarily like a bad thing. It's just knowing why you're doing it. Really, I think a lot of players tend to do it um, just out of like they'll do it just because they can or just because it feels like it's helping them, but without really knowing why. And I think
yeah.
that can ruin the point of it because you don't want to do something like that for no reason. Because if you're losing with Olimar and you're losing with Palutena, why are you even switching?
Yeah. All right. Another question I have is winged Pikmin dashing. How good do you think that is? And do you think moonwalking is like at all useful, or is it just something
Um,
for like attack?
I think it definitely has its uses as a tech. I don't think it's like the most important thing. You can get away with not using it. I'm pretty bad about using it on my own. Not because I think it's bad, just because I haven't really committed to kind of integrating it into my playstyle. But I know like players like DeBuzz like to use it as a bit of an approach option, just randomly, because you do get that burst of speed. I think like numbers, from like a number standpoint, it's not really better than certain like regular movement options, but it kind of creates that wow factor, especially online, right, where you're able to react a bit. Oops, you're able to react. You can't react as well, so I think that might lend you some success there. So if you like the tech and you're finding ways to incorporate it and you feel like it's working, yeah, definitely don't be afraid to bust it out. I think it's a very viable tech in that regard. Moonwalking is a bit more niche because the setup is it's elaborate. You have to do a bit more. You have to run a certain way. I'm sure you could find some time for it, but I wouldn't like try and make it work if it's not feeling natural, right?
Hmm.
So it's one of those things you're gonna have to feel out in the moment, I think. Like when I get a lot of Olimars tell me, oh, desyncing is not practical. It's not, platform desyncs are good. You can't do them. But it's like I incorporate them all the time. I hit people from the highest level of Smash Brothers to the lowest level with them. So those advanced techs are all about you need to kind of be a step ahead already because it needs to be a seamless transition. You're playing and then you're like, bam, wing Pikmin dash, and you go for it, right? Whereas if you have to stop and go, all right, I want to wing Pikmin dash now, in that time that you're kind of calculating if it's worth it, the game's already progressing past that. So if you can, and it seems like you're incorporating it here a couple times, what seems pretty smoothly. So I imagine you already have like the execution aspect of it down. So if you get into a spot where you're like, oh, I like this, or maybe you're fighting a wolf, right? And he's like lasering you, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna jump over that with a wing Pikmin dash and fair him. That's really good, and that's a great application for the tech. So if you're finding opportunities, I'd say go for it. Just don't super heavily rely on it. It's like my desync smashes or any other tech. If you do it all the time, your opponent's going to get privy to it, and they're going to adjust their gameplay accordingly. And I've even punished people for that. I can condition people to not go to platforms when I fight them because they know that I will desync up there, right? So I was fighting someone and I conditioned them not to do it originally. And then I plucked Pikmin and ran back onto the platform, and then they went there and I punished them for it. So you can do some mix-ups with stuff like that. You just need to be aware of the general game state.
Yeah. Speaking about desyncs, have you seen the new new ledge trapping desync on Twitter?
Yes, with the F tilt.
Yeah. How good do you think that will be?
I think there are Olimars who are definitely, like, if you look at, like, Scherzo Gavat, the person that, like, labs out a lot of that stuff, he's very good about incorporating those things into his play pretty seamlessly. I think it could have some use. I mean, I've hit in some pretty wacky desyncs on people when they don't expect it. So it has a use. Maybe it's a more niche tech. I wouldn't say it's an all-the-time thing, but it's also pretty early on into the tech, so I could be wrong. And if there's another Olimar who's like, yeah, no, this is good, and they start using it, well, great, more options. But I don't think it's necessarily game-changing, but I also don't think it's just trash.
Yeah. What would you say is the worst matchup for Olimar? From an Olimar, like, optimist.
Do you want, like, online or offline? Because those are different.
Both. Because I'm planning about going back to offline tournaments.
Yeah. So, online, I would say it's far and away Sonic. Because you can't react to shit Sonic does online. And that matchup is entirely dependent on if you lose the lead. Like, if you have the lead, right, and they have to approach, easy, no problem. They approach, you can punish your Olimar. You're really good at kind of stopping that level of aggression. He's not a character like Mario who can kind of just press buttons on top of you all the time. Offline, I would say it varies into more of a comfort range. I know a lot of people don't like things like Wolf, don't like things like Rob, Shulk. Personally, if I had to choose one, I would probably say Wolf. But even then, I don't think the matchup is bad. I think it's just kind of a difficult one to execute properly on.
So offline, he doesn't really have like a true terrible matchup.
I don't think there's a matchup he shouldn't win or can't win offline. Online, I definitely think like if the Sonic's playing it right, you're going to get timed out. And that's just the nature of online with the character. But offline, I think everything's doable as long as you can execute on your game plan properly. It's just very hard. But I mean, that's the character, so...
Yeah. So I saw on your Twitter you were talking about like the 3 archetypes of like an Olimar player, like Shuton, you, and the Buzz.
Oh yeah, the 3 zones.
Yeah, 3 zones.
I've been cooking that in my brain for the longest time, and it's like partly a complete kind of theory, but to put it in layman's terms, essentially Olimar has like 3 zones, right? So you have like the long range camping, which is like, what we're doing right now. We're kind of just throwing stuff from far away, playing that neutral game. Someone's trying to get in. Then you have that mid range game where you're not necessarily like in like jab range, but it's more like tipper F smash, anti-air, fair and bear, things like that, right? Where you're more reactionary. And then you've got the close range where you are, you're in boxing range, you're up close, you're up smashing, you're doing things like that, and you're creating block strings, using purple side B, using jabs, using up smash, lots of different stuff like that. And the theory is pretty much if you are able to properly identify which playstyle to employ at any given moment, you should beat every character. And I know that sounds redundant. It's like if you play right, you win or whatever. But it's like more so an admission of he does not have he doesn't have a matchup where he can't use a certain strategy. So against like Sonic, right, where I said like you shouldn't win this online. I say that because Sonic, the burden of execution is on us to kind of do it, and that means, you know, if we mess up first, it's probably going to spiral really bad, because if we are down an entire stock, he plays the runaway game. However, when we're in that neutral kind of back and forth, maybe same stock, even the percent's a bit different, if we adhere to that really defensive kind of far away, like max range zone, Sonic now has a lot harder time getting in, and that can allow us to get the damage, and that can allow us to get the openings. So that's where that kind of zone works. And you will never stick to a specific zone for a certain matchup. You're always going to have to transition between them, and that's the hard part of some of matchups like Wolf, right, where it's like you have to be able to properly transition from that up close to like the anti-air reactionary, you know, mid-range game. But essentially, if you can identify, and that's something I'm even working on, because I know the strategies, but it's knowing when to swap them up. But if you can swap that up efficiently enough, you should beat every matchup, or win every match. I don't want to say beat every matchup, but you can beat every character in the game. And it's all about recognizing how to transition between those three playstyles, because it's so undead. It's so difficult to do that in the moment, because if you pick wrong, let's say you're fighting like what's a good reversal character? Like Ness, right? Like he's super good at kind of diffusing aggression off him. He's got really strong hitboxes that are big on his aerials. He's great at combo breaking. He's floaty. Let's say you're fighting Ness, right? And you go out there and you got him, you know, in a quick combo like a down throw or something, knock him off stage. You go out there and you mess up your ledge punish, and then he hits you. That happened because you either executed poorly or you went too aggressive and didn't recognize that maybe you should retreat back to maybe a more mid range and then let yourself kind of play that mid range, right? You didn't have the confidence to play the different aspect. You were trying to rush that advantage state. That then turns into, okay, so while I could, in theory, yes, you know, hold that advantage state and do this and punish him over and over again, I wasn't able to execute on it for whatever reason. So you need to identify why you weren't able to execute on it. You know, did you make a tech error? Maybe you like misinputted or mistimed your approach, but also maybe it just wasn't the play to do. Maybe you needed to have retreated back and then let him grab ledge and then sit mid-range and make him fight his way back in. And then you can use Olimar's strong defensive gameplay to put him in that awkward spot. And that recognition would then kind of funnel into, all right, so next time I'll go into that mid-range. But at that mid-range, you don't have a weakness. You already know what to do. He has to play your game, right? And then that feeds back into it where now you have an option and now you can win. And that's kind of what it is. It's really all about just letting yourself identify how to play properly, because you always have the tools to deal with something.
From, you know how patch 10.0, patch 10.0, they fixed the Pikmin and stuff like that. I used to have a really bad habit of naring out of up B, because just before Pikmin just didn't work. Would you say nair or like fair bear is better now out of up B?
It depends on what you're doing. I think they all still have their use. I still like nair a lot, so it's not a bad option to use. Up air is also really nice because it's your quickest aerial in terms of overall animation. And it's also active a decent amount of time. So you'll see a lot of people cancel with an up air. But I don't think you should stop using nair. Fair and bear are a little weirder because their hitboxes are a bit more precise, I feel. Like, you know, fair's only that swing in front of him. And then same with bear. And they're also a bit laggier of an animation. And they have less active frames. Whereas nair is great for shield poking. It's great for crossing up. It's, you know, there's a lot of ambiguity to it. And you also don't need a Pikmin. While it's not the safest, the shield poking aspect of the fact that you can kind of cross someone up while you're doing it can make it harder to punish. I don't think doing nair is bad. I would say if you're looking for a specific aerial to maybe cancel the up B and just try and get back to the ground as fast as possible, learning that kind of auto cancel air like spacing for up air is really important. I can show you what I mean real quick here. That's really good. You can do dare as well. It's just it lasts a bit longer, and that's why you'll see Olimars often go for up air so much, because it has just the least amount of animation. And when you're at the ledge especially, like if I like up air, I'm gonna grab ledge here. But if I like down air, see? And it doesn't, it's that animation difference that makes something big. So like if you're up here, you can be like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna up air. No lag.
And so when you down air, you put you in a worse spot.
Like you can do it, but there's still, it's more awkward. You know, you can even do it with a fair. But up air just generally feels the best for me specifically. You know, you're going to take into account where your opponent is. If they're around you and you want to hit them with a fair or something, that's fine. Just kind of, you know, be careful about it. But you can also, up air is going to hit on both sides. So if you do like a falling up air, you can do something like that. You can fall with the up air. You can kind of cross up as well. That's generally my go-to aerial here. We're starting a game. That's generally my go-to aerial. I think Nair is really good. Just pay attention to where your opponent's at. If they're on the ledge right here and you want to like, and you are up being passed, like come to the ledge and hold shield. You know, you cross up, then you can try and shield poke. You can cross up with an air, and if their back is to you, not every character has. Bit my tongue. Not every character has an option to punish you when their back is facing you at a shield. So maybe you can nair them, and then you could run away, or you could shield if you think they're going to attack. But I generally prefer up air over bear fair if I'm just like landing.
If you're just trying to land and not attack them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was another question I was gonna ask? Oh yeah, when do you think down tilt is best used? Just as a move in general.
It's got a bit of anti-airing properties because it's so big in the front, so you can use it there. I think it's really good at catching jumps for that reason. It's great for two-framing / hitting on the ledge, and it's a bit more... It feels a bit safer / more consistent than something like down smash because of the way the smashes interact with the ledge. So that can be a nice way to poke and kind of catch people's two frames. Especially at the ledge because you can, you know, down tilt and you can up smash or not up smash. You can up air, you can fair, you can bear depending on what they do. So I think it's definitely good there. It's also faster than certain things, so don't be afraid to like throw it out every now and then. But just it's the main time you don't want to use it if they're in shield because it's like -17 on shield, so it's super unsafe. If people know what they're doing. But overall, you definitely have some room to play around with it. It's a combo move, so you want to use it kind of up close as a way to catch them. I mean, you could also, something I'd like to do, but I don't do it that often, I think is pretty good, is retreating, turn around, down tilt. So you're running away from someone, and then you just do something like that. And that's good at catching people running in. But you'll likely need to experiment with your general playstyle and kind of go like, where do I feel like I have openings? Because it's kind of like a jab in a sense when you're up close, but a little bit more different. The nice thing about Olimar is that I don't think he has like right there, right? Like I didn't want to jab. Down tilt's going to come through. It's also great at killing Pikmin and Ditto, funny enough. It's a great just like, it lasts a while. It's like 6 or 7 frames that it lasts. So you can kind of just come through and punish people for doing it or catching them.
When is the, so sometimes I watch some of your VODs, and sometimes you don't throw away blues. Just like, when you take a stock. Why do you do that?
They do the most damage off down throw. So I like it. That's honestly the simplest reason. Like, if I down throw, alright, so let's say I have 3 Pikmin, right? And I down throw you into a purple forward air, that's 34%. So, it varies on the type of character I'm fighting. If I feel like I'm not going to get anything off the throw, I might get rid of him. Or if I feel like if I'm not going to get a grab, I might get rid of him. Like against like a Rosa, right? We're grabbing so hard because Luma. But I like them at those lower percents because they do a lot of damage off throws. You know, blue back throw with 3 Pikmin is 23%.
I just think that, like, other Pikmin types, like yellow and red, just, you can up smash on them and get like 50-70%. So I never thought like the real reason.
Well, you have to, but it's kind of a matter of like, what do you think? How are you going to land that attack, right? You still have to land the up smash, just like you have to land the grab. But up smash isn't super safe and free all the time, so you can't just do whatever you want with it. So it's like a matter of kind of how do I think I'm going to land my attack, and sometimes I prefer to go for the grab. Also, I mean, they're tankier, they have more health, so I kind of like the that aspect to them. But it's just a matter of, like, if I think I can get a grab, I want the blue for more damage in a lot of cases. Now, there are, you know, combos. There are combos without that grab, or, like, without the blue multiplier. Like, you know, red send less far, so you get higher damage, or you get higher kind of percent follow-ups because they go less far. But at 0%, if I feel like you can get a grab, yeah, I like it a lot because I might be able to exploit maybe my opponent doesn't know how to DI properly. If they're DIing a blue down throw in, that's premier damage, right? Because now I'm getting that bonus damage with the blue, but they're DIing it in, so I'm probably going to get a follow-up too, and I'm still getting my back air. And that's just more damage than if I do a red down throw or a yellow down throw. I personally think reds are the least useful on average Pikmin. I think they're just kind of like discount purples in a lot of ways. So I'd rather just have a purple, and that's why you see me throw my red so much. But blues, while being, you know, niche in their own way, I think they generally provide more for the way I like to play. Plus, their general tankiness is nice for certain things too. If you're pairing, since they have more health, the less likely they're going to die.
Alright, I know I will never truly get it just from hearing things, but what would you say how to play Joker the Joker matchup?
Pretty patient. It's a lot of like trying to snub out his own approach. So like if you were to use like the two or the three zones kind of like format to break it up, it's that it starts out in that long range and then it transitions to the mid range a lot, and you're going to be intercepting him. And when you do get your kind of moments of being up close and boxing him out and things like that, those will work, but that's not the core of it because you're not going to be going hyper aggressive in that matchup a lot of the time, just because it's not the most worth it. You definitely can if you get purples. You know, you should push your advantage state on him, but it's a lot of reactionary stuff because he doesn't have the most traditional shield pressure either. He's not like Wolf or someone like that, so he has to intercept you a lot. So if you can make it hard, you can get a lot of free damage from your side Bs and then just other stuff like that. And the best, if you want a good like set, it was a while ago, so I mean it's definitely outdated some. If you go watch back my my set versus Zachary at main stage, it'll like I play pretty defensive there, and that's because you need to get them committing first. Because if you wait, Olamar's lack of like genuine shield pressure comes out in full force, and you just get punished for it. And that's not really worth it.
Yeah. So because of how reactionary the matchup is, you would say it's harder on online?
Yes, in a way. Joker's also a little rough online, so it's not like 1-to-1. But yeah, I would definitely say like it's going to be harder because you need to not like you know, drop shield at a certain time and get dash attacked, or you know, that falling forward and things like that. But just try and play in a way where you're giving yourself a lot of distance to get away from him.
Yeah, okay.
Is that a character that you feel gives you a lot of trouble?
Yeah, I struggle a lot against Joker. I just feel like I played most of the time long range, not really an Olimar Ditto, because it's the Olimar Ditto.
Yeah.
But I played long range. I try to tick him with Pikmin, and then he gets Arsene, and he feels like a better zoner than I am.
So when you're getting those hits, right? You need to be able to. You can't stay like in that defense mode all the time. And that's that's the big difficulty of it, because you can start out really there, but when he hits those Pikmin, or when he gets his damage, or when he commits to something, or even when he gets Arsene, he's gonna go in eventually. Arsene attacks aren't safe in the same way. Like let me pull up his frame data real quick so I can tell you what I'm talking about. So we use F tilt for example, because that's famously unsafe. You know, but they like to run up and F tilt you. F tilt's -15, I think, and -11 with Arsene. Neither of those are safe. You can fair both of those. You can F smash or up smash the non-Arsene version. None of his tilts are safe. His smashes, not really so. Fair is gonna catch all of them. His aerials can be pretty safe, right? You know, nair, back air. Those are pretty hard to hit on shield though. But even after that, what is he doing after that? That's making it so hard to punish. If he's shielding, you can probably grab him. If he's running away, maybe you can just swing on him. If he's attacking, he's got startup, maybe you can swing on him. So when he gets that Arsene, it's important to like try and bait out those dash attacks, bait out those those attacks from him, and then hit him with something light. Maybe you jab him, maybe you down tilt him, maybe you forward air him or nair him. Just something to pop him up. Use your side B still to get that chip damage, beat down his Arsene, and then rinse and repeat. And then when you do get an opening, when he does commit, that's when you push it. Why do you feel like he's out zoning you when he has Arsene?
I feel like just Aga. I jump side B, then he Agas to catch my landing, and then I either have to air dodge out of it or like just retreat to a platform.
You probably need to just adjust your spacing against that, because one, you can use Pikmin to block that, but if you're jumping in a certain way, if you're like full screen and you're like throwing something like that, there's no way he's catching you with one of those. Assuming you're like giving yourself the spacing to react. And, that move has a pretty set-in-stone arc, so while they can jump with it and stuff like that, it's not going to always catch you a lot of the time. So I think paying attention to where they're throwing in a wind, you could probably mix in, like, your own jump or even, like, an air dodge. It's fine if you air dodge because you're going to be far away from him, so he's not going to be able to cover that distance all the time.
How would you... I also feel like just... I know most of the time I always think like, oh, Olimar really doesn't have that bad of a disadvantage, but I feel like against Joker it really shines about how bad it is.
Yeah, I mean, Olimar's disadvantage is definitely rough at times, and it depends on the character. Off stage, when he's out there with those back airs, you're going to feel it. I mean, there's only so much you can do. You can try and like really milk your up B, mix it up, just keep him kind of guessing. Sometimes you got to ditch all or maybe two of your Pikmin, so you just have one, go really low and try and ride the wall. Stage choice is going to help a lot if you've got a stage where you can go under it like a battlefield. Not even necessarily all the way under, but go, kind of in and then back up to the ledge. That can help a lot. But sometimes it's just going out and really making it awkward is important. Or there's times where, I get hit and I like to immediately up B out of that tumble because I want to just get right back into it, and they might not be ready for it, and then you recover at a more, horizontal angle, something like this, and stuff like that is important for mixing it up.
Yeah, you seem like whenever you play, like you just have a really good grasp on your up B. You do a lot of risky stuff that I would consider very risky, but you probably just think it's like
For me, I'm just like, all right, this will probably work. This should work, and then go from there. And it doesn't always work, and there's times where I'm maybe too stubborn and I stick to a certain game plan with it too much, and that's my fault. But you need to have that confidence. You need to have that confidence in your up B, or you're just not going to be able to do it. Because if you're always recovering in these really linear ways or making it really easy for them, then yeah, you're going to get punished, especially by a character like Joker, who's got a pretty generous back air or forward air or whatever, edge guarding tool they're using against you. So kind of playing around with it's really important.
Oh, my dittos are so fucking stupid. I did like Olimar boot camp with my friend a little ago. It was fun.
It is fun. I like the Ditto a lot. There's a lot of little things you can exploit.
So I play Roy. I've picked up Roy recently as a secondary. How good would you say that would be for like matchups that you would like say like is a little bit struggling?
I don't know Roy's matchup spread off the top of my head, so I'm not sure what niche he would fill. I'm sure it won't be bad because Roy's a solid character, but it's definitely like it kind of goes back to what I was saying. I think you could make it work just fine, because it's also important to like recognize what are your overarching goals, right? Maybe it's just to be the best player in your region, or maybe it's to be locally PR'd or whatever it is. You could do that with Roy Olimar, no problem. Hell, you could probably even, if you really want to get PGR'd with a Roy Olimar spread. But it's just a matter of how did that align with your goals. And I think Roy might kind of fill in those gaps where you're having with Olimar. His disadvantage is a little bit different. He's a fast faller. He's just fast in general. So that changes the disadvantage aspect totally. He can also play a lot more aggressive all the time. So if you feel like you don't know how to get on Joker, it's like, well, okay, now I have buttons to be in his face and start pressuring him right off the get-go. So I think that could help you just fine. If you're comfortable with him, that's the important thing. Oh, excuse me. If you're playing a character who you don't feel meshes with you, then don't play them. But if Roy's someone who feels a lot more natural to you, then yeah, I'd definitely say go for it. But I mean, playing you here, your Olimar is not bad at all. you know, it seems like you have a general idea of what you want to do. I've seen you, you know, kind of use the wing pick and dash and stuff like that. So you seem to have a solid foundation.
Yeah, I've played ever since, like, this is my first ever Smash game, and I saw that he had a very funny nose, and I wanted to play him.
I feel that, dude. No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I have like 170 hours on him, I think. I just recently started like actually like training.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. No, you're definitely getting it down pat pretty fast.
How good would you say up being like under ledges would be? Like just like up being like under the stage.
It's pretty good. Especially against certain characters where you just need to get away. Once again, that's something that like someone like DeBuzz loves to do, and that's because it works. You know, it doesn't always fix your issue because they might run to the other side of the stage, but it might give you a moment or mix things up or just kind of make it awkward for them. So it has its uses, and I think it's something you could learn to work with and exploit, or not exploit, but like implement.
Yeah. When would you say like the best time to use it?
If someone, like, if you're fighting like a Roy or Chrom right here at the ledge, and you don't feel comfortable getting back, it might be good to go over there. And then, you know, if you say you're on Town and City, right, that can, maybe the platforms are going to come on the other side, and now you've got an additional outlet to play with. Or maybe you're fighting, you know, a Diddy Kong at the ledge, and he's got a banana there, and you're like, oh, I don't really like that. So you just go under. And if you're fighting someone like, you know, maybe you're fighting an Olimar, right? You're in the Olimar Ditto. I'm at the ledge, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. So you just fly to the other side. I'm slow. It takes me time to get over there. I might not be able to get over there as fast as you because your beast fast. So there's times like that where it can, you know, provide some relief when you're not really in a good spot. And my lack of speed means I've got to jump through a few hoops to get over there too. And I might get over there around the same time, but maybe you had enough time, and then now you can recover properly, right?
Yeah.
It's so weird because there isn't a lot of the questions you're asking, they're good, and I like how you're giving a general, like, I have this idea of a tech, when do I use it? But there's never a, here's when you always use this. Because things will constantly change depending on what your opponent's doing. Even combos, right? So when we were talking about, like, the blue throw versus, like, the red or the yellow, right? There are times where a blue throw is bad. Like, if I'm fighting, like, a Pichu, I probably, not always, probably don't want blues that often at low percent. Because I can't combo off blue down throw with ADI out. Its character's too light, it's too much knockback, too much damage, so I might opt for something else. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to ditch all my blues, because sometimes back throw is great. You know, I'll opt for back throw for positional advantage, a solid 20+%, and then I get, you know, it changes up the dynamic. But it's constantly adjusting based on what your needs are in the moment.
Yeah, I got coaching lessons from DeBuzz a little while ago, and I'm kind of just like regurgitating like questions I've asked.
No, that's fine. That's cool.
It's just like it's cool to like learn like a different perspective from like someone like Secondaries Olimar from someone who like mains Olimar.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an interesting outlook because I've never, to my knowledge at least, I've never coached anyone, or they've never told me people who like have had coaching by DeBuzz. So I don't know, you know, how his coaching style not only differs from mine, but also how he's kind of teaching Olimar, playing Olimar, relative to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely keep the character very open-ended because I think that's how you can play him. You're not locked into a specific strategy or play style as a whole with him. It's more so on a matchup-to-matchup thing.
So during tournaments, I've never entered tournaments because I'm scared.
Okay.
They're really scary. I wanna like, what do you do to like prep yourself for a match in a tournament?
Well, it depends. For me, it depends on the type of tournament, right? Like if I'm at like a weekly, I'm chilling. It doesn't even matter, right? So that's very lowbrow for me. I've been competing for 8 years now, so it's kind of like second nature to me. But if I'm at like a major where the stakes are a bit higher and I might have more of those nerves, when I find myself getting ready for a match, it's a lot of deep breathing, honestly, because that's the best thing I've found to just calm your nerves. Drink, you know, a healthy amount of water. You want to stay hydrated. You want to try and minimize any external distractions, right? You don't want to, like, feel that you're thirsty. Or you don't want to be like, oh, I have an upset stomach, right? You know, just try and be as good of a condition as you can. Make sure you get enough nights sleep if you're worried. because that type of anxiety is not specific to just you. A lot of people kind of have those nerves, especially when they're new, because you always assume like, oh no, I'm trash, I'm not worth it, it's a tournament, yada yada. You have to reframe your way of thinking in a sense. That you go, it's not I'm not good enough to be at these tournaments, but these tournaments are a place to display my skill. So it's a test, and you can kind of gauge yourself, and it's okay if you fail. You know, I've never won a major. I've been trying a lot of years. I've never won one. So it takes, you have to accept what is. You go there, you're like, I have an idea of how good I am or what I want, my goal, and you try your best, and you just have to accept it, and a lot of deep breathing, a lot of mental reassurance. It's good if you go with friends or people you know, and if you're new to a scene, then you can go and you introduce yourself, play some friendlies, meet people. A lot of the times these people are really nice, and it's a general environment of encouragement to just be like, yeah, no one cares if you're bad. That I think that's a big thing too, that a lot of newer players or players who are kind of new to the tournaments, they might kind of, it's that fear. No one cares if you're bad. Like, you could go 0-2, and you're probably still like, people will be, oh, yo, good job, man. Oh, you want to play some games? Oh, always next time. And that's what I do when people go to my, tournaments or whatever. I don't care if they're good or not at the game. As long as they're there and they're having fun and they're working towards whatever goal they want, that's the important thing. But it's a big mental barrier that's not easy to overcome, but just a lot of deep breathing. And practice makes perfect. You're going to experience some of that uncomfortableness. I don't believe you'll ever be able to kind of absolve yourself of nerves 100%. Because as you get better, the stakes get better, and then you care more. But that's fine. I mean, if you're that nervous, you care for a reason. You want to do something. You want to prove to yourself, and that's good.
Yeah. I don't participate in online tournaments because they're just annoying at the time.
Yeah, they're definitely annoying, and I don't blame you for that. But when offline tournaments come back in your area and stuff, I would definitely give one a go. I mean, have you been to them before but just never competed, or have you never been to one?
I went to a local once, but I told my mom that I was too scared and I left.
No, that's fine, man. I get it. It's daunting, right? I've had, new players come to my tournaments, and some of them do that same thing as you. They don't feel super comfortable. Just take it at your own pace. Maybe you need to go to a few more locals and get a bit more comfortable with the people there and things like that before you feel good entering, because now you've got like a solid, group of people you can chat with maybe after your bracket or something if you feel like you didn't do as hot as you wanted. That's totally fine. It's a personal experience, so it's okay if it's not, immediate. You can't rush that type of stuff. Everyone learns differently. Everyone kind of progresses differently. So as long as you're just giving yourself the ability to do it, you're giving yourself enough respect to go, okay, I know I'm scared I'm gonna do bad, or I'm not gonna do good, but that's okay, and you're just gonna have to take that leap of faith eventually. But maybe normalizing yourself and getting a bit more comfortable in that environment would help you a lot. I like to listen to music when I play in bracket. Generally, it helps me drown out anything. For me, it's a lot of when I'm playing in like a more intense match, I can drown out, people talking behind me because people will watch sets, or if it's a major, it can drown out like the crowd cheering if I'm on stage. So maybe you could either, if you like to play with game sound, you could get some headphones, plug them into the Switch, or get like an audio splitter and do something like that, or listen to your own game music and just help you focus on the game.
Yeah, I play with music all the time. I play on a monitor, so I can't have sound.
Gotcha.
I was gonna ask. Oh, how, do you think you could learn do you think you have to learn every single matchup, or can you just get away with not completely learning one?
I don't think it's realistic to learn every matchup in this game. There's so many characters that it's by the time you learn that 75th one, you're gonna start getting rusty on the first one, right? So I think it's more so you need to have general game plans for every character. All right, let me say what I mean. So when I fight Pit, I have a general game plan. I know what I'm going to try to do. I don't know the inner workings of Pit. I know some stuff, and I know how some of my stuff interacts with him, but I don't know all the finer details compared to something like Wolf, where I have to really know my stuff because it's such a common character. So I think you want to have a general game plan against everyone, even if maybe you haven't practiced against them before. And you might need to practice some, But as long as you kind of develop that general game sense, you should be fine. And maybe if you realize you're about to fight someone who has that, you go brush up on it, right? So you're like, all right, I got to fight like a pit and bracket next to this tournament. Let me, read up on pit's frame data. Let me do something like that. Or just try and pull like from any previous, experience with it in the past. But it's definitely not realistic to like learn them all. I mean, I get into that issue where like I'll practice with the characters and the matchups I can find, over the last like 2 weeks, because it is hard to find practice for all these characters, and then I won't play against like a Rob for like 3 weeks, and then I'll fight one in a Wi-Fi tournament, and it's like that's already a stressful matchup online, because of the delay and all that, and now I'm out of practice, and then I get slapped up by a Rob, and it's like, man, I wish I could have practiced that, but it just wasn't feasible. So, yeah, I don't think you're gonna learn everything, but that's all right. Just do your best to have some level of information. I know some players like to kind of create little notebooks for themselves where they have like matchup notes and they can go fighting Rob, bam, and they have like bullet points and stuff. That's a totally viable way to do it, and that's something I've even considered doing for myself, because there's so many characters and I'm tired of like going in and fighting this random character after like 2 months of not playing it and not remembering the exact strategy I need to employ.
So more so learn like character archetypes instead of every single character's matchup.
Yeah, or I like to kind of internalize my process of learning, and by that I mean like I like to understand how my character interacts with everything else, right? So if there's like swords, I need to know how I interact with them. Are there, how does my frame data interact with you? I try to keep a general idea of every character's out of shield game, because I want to know what the extent of my shield pressure is going to be against you. Is it like, can I up smash your shield for free with a purple once? Okay, yeah, against like Shulk, I can do that. It's a 50-50. It's not like I'm getting grabbed. Against, I think like Byleth, that's not an option. So there's those different types of mix-ups, and it's that general knowledge that I keep. But yeah, like the archetypes can definitely help a lot. If it's a heavy, you're going to fight most heavies the same and kind of just change it up on the fly. You'll be like, okay, K. Rool has belly armor. All right, Charizard has an insane enough shield game. All right, Bowser has got that the command grab, things like that. Because even if you don't practice against a lot of characters, the more you play the game in general, you're going to learn things about it. So, I don't fight Steve that often, but I know some stuff about Steve. And there's still stuff I don't know, and I have to learn it. I mean, that's a problem with a cast this big. But as long as you're just making an attempt to kind of figure it out as you go, you should be fine. And you'll definitely lose sometimes because you weren't as prepared, and that's just kind of the way it is, and it sucks. But, you have to... That's on you as a competitor. That's on you as a competitor to make sure that you're coming as prepared as possible.
What would you say? I completely forgot. Okay.
No, you're
what
good.
would you say is like a good practice regimen for Smash?
It depends on what you're personally struggling with. So, like, I know some people like to go into training mode and do kind of like execution-based drills, especially if they have like the training mode pack or whatever, like so they can make the CPU do certain things. But if you don't have execution errors, or you feel like you already have that down pat, that's not going to do that much for you. I would say if you're really trying to improve, try to play at least a couple hours every day. I know there's like play 8 hours every day, and I've been at a point in my life where I played 8 hours every day. But that's not realistic for everyone, nor is that beneficial if you're not making the most out of it. Because, like, 2 hours of, like, quality practice is way better than 8 hours of mindless practice, mindless grinding. So I think give yourself, like, if you can, 2 hours of, like, good practice every day. And by good, I mean just trying to challenge yourself, or at least, like, putting thought into it. You want to be able to be like, why am I losing? Why am I winning? And have some, cognitive effort being done for that. I know some people like to also do like VOD review. I think that's a totally valid way to learn as well. It's not the most mandatory. I think at the end of the day, playing the game and progressing yourself there is important. But if you're feeling burnt out one day, or if you got some free time and you can't really practice, it's not bad to maybe pull up a VOD of you losing, or even you winning in some cases, or another Olimar, and really trying to analyze it. But your practice regimen is going to tailor to your schedule and what you feel your weaknesses are. I don't know your overarching gameplay, like what your flaws are, what your strengths are. I mean, I've been talking to you for 40 minutes now. Like, there's a lot left to unpack there. But I would say a couple hours a day, really just try and break down why you're winning and why you're losing, and let yourself absorb that information. Talk with yourself through it, because that's the biggest thing for the improvement. And if you can do that, you're gonna be really good. Because I know there are days where I play, and I'll fight someone like Tweak, and that's some of the most intense practice I can get, because he's such a strong player, and his playstyle is so stressful for me that it's that really robust practice. And then there's other days where I might need to practice a bit longer, or I won't get like super quality practice just due to the type of player or whatever it is. So maybe I'll have to go supplement that with like VOD review, or maybe doing some theory crafting on my own outside of the game. But just giving yourself every day some thought into it, really trying to push yourself in the character. There was a time where I did, like back in Brawl, I did like those tech drills, like do so and so many of these like B reverses or this or this or this. That's because I couldn't play online at the time, and that's not a bad thing to do, but just like don't feel like you have to go do like 50 B reverse, side Bs before you can start practicing, for the day or whatever.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how this stuff works, so this question might just not make sense. But
Okay.
how good are rising and falling aerials for Omar?
They're both pretty good in their own right. So rising aerials typically aren't safe because you have to you finish the animation, right? Like you're not landing lagging it, you're not auto canceling it, you're just the whole animation. And that's why when I was telling you about that up air, right? Like that's the whole animation, so it's really good to cancel at B because it's the shortest move. Falling arrows are definitely good for Olimar because they are your most important shield pressure tool with them. Fair and Bear are really safe if you space them right. So that's a super strong tool at your disposal there. Rising aerials are good as well, but they're more so as a anti-air or a reactionary tool or a read. I read that someone's going to jump here because a lot of characters, they have to fall with their aerials, right? So think of like Ike. When's the last time you saw Ike do a rising neutral air?
Yeah.
They don't. It's so. If they do, you're not getting comboed, right? So it's fine. It's like sure, do that. Most characters won't do that. Not all, but most, because they recognize that their move will have lag on its own. So they opt to do the falling one. So if they have to fall with an aerial, they have to jump and then fall. So that means if you rise with them, you do a rising arrow, you hit them. And since Olimar is not a kind of like a shield pressure type character in that regard, that's really good for you. So I think they're both very strong, but they serve different purposes. Falling aerials are a way to pressure on your own, and a way to kind of force your opponent into a certain, maybe in shield or do something like that. If someone's back is to the ledge and they're in shield, and you're sitting there short hopping doing those falling backers in place, they are scared if it's a purple. They have to respect that, right? That's a strong move. It's safe. It does shield damage. But if you're sitting there jumping doing back airs, it's a totally different game plan because then they can run under you. So it's something you'll feel out in the moment. An example of both, which I really like, is it's kind of like a try and cover everything, maybe exploit their lack of immediate reaction, is immediate rising short hop up air into falling fair. Because you rise with the up air, it's going to throw something out if they jump, and then you're immediately falling fair, and if it hits their shield and you space right, it's probably safe.
So would you say falling aerials are more for pressure, and then
Yes.
rising aerials are more for like read-based stuff?
Yes, because you're not, assuming you guys are on the same level, like you want to use that on a platform, those rising aerials are not going to be safe on average.
Yeah.
But I think they're both very good for the character if you are able to implement them properly.
Where would you put Olimar on the tier list?
I don't have an exact number spot off the top of my head, but I have him as bottom of top tier. I think Olimar's really good. I think the players hold him back more than anything, and that's why he's not easy to play. He's extremely hard to play because he is inconsistent in some ways, and that is reflected in the way even after 10.0 he is, but before 10.0 it was a nightmare. Sometimes your Pikmin just didn't come out. And they fixed that a lot. So he has the tools to be really good, even with all the nerfs. But it's not easy, and I think that's why a lot of people think he isn't really capable of it. Not so much that he doesn't have the tools, because he's got a super strong camping game, a great mid range. He can play aggressive really well with those purples. He's kind of got most of the tools he needs. But I think the players hold him back, and that's why, even myself, like, I'm not as good with him as I should be, so that's on me. But I think he's like bottom of top tier for sure. It's just you're playing one of the hardest, if not the hardest, depending on how you look at it, characters in the game. So you're gonna have to kind of step up in that regard and make sure that you're pulling your weight, not making errors, and not overextending. If you overextend with Olimar, like I knock you off stage and I go out there and I try and do something and I mess it up and then I get reversaled, is that an Olimar problem or is that a me problem?
You problem.
That's a me problem. That's not my character. My character's flaws are like, I don't have a shield pressure. I don't have a way to deal with this pressure, right? Like, that's a me problem or that's a character problem because he has a finite level of strength in that regard, and I just don't have something to do with it. Now, does that mean the character can never win? No, because what if I, maybe take a second, step back, and then go, well, how did I get in this situation? Oh, I could have done something here. Okay, well, then that was me messing up again. Like, that wasn't the character not having the tools. Oh, no, I meant the up air. Fuck.
You were going fucking crazy on me with those desyncs, though. I've never seen them in my life before. Wow.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, so much, you just exploit their lack of awareness for it. You're just like, yeah, go up there, dude, yeah. Come on, yes. Oh, you weren't ready for that? All right, yeah. And it's cool. The character has so much depth, but I feel with him that I haven't reached that ceiling, and that there's always something I can do. Now, there's definitely times where I get in a scenario, and I'm like, man, Olimar doesn't have an option in this moment. But I also put a lot of people in those options. I throw a purple this way, and I go, you can choose the purple side B to kill you, or the forward air to kill you. So he's got those tools. It's just understanding how to deal with the opponent and their tools before they put you in that spot. And that's why those 3 zones really break it down. Because if you're in that far range game, you can probably handle anyone. If you're in that mid-range game, you can react to most things and punish it. You shouldn't always be in that close range game, but when you are, you can do it really well. So, bottom of top tier, very strong character, just extremely punishing.
Would you say, if Omar was played perfectly, where would you put him?
That's hard. I've never really thought about like that theoretically perfect Olimar. I would say even with because of the nerfs they gave him over the course of like 2019 and stuff, I would say he probably ends in like middle of top tier because you've still got some real monsters up at the top. Pikachu, Joker, Palutena even with the nerfs, like people have theory crafted things like Min being broken. Lucina's still really good. So there's still a lot of Wolf, I think, is insane. I would say probably like middle of top tier. Not the best. I think things like Joker being so strong, things like Pikachu having essentially no flaw are kind of insane. And while he can definitely beat those characters, they're just so well-rounded because they haven't really gotten any substantial nerfs. I don't even think Pikachu's ever been nerfed. And then they have absurd frame data and all that. I think that would keep them above in a similar sense, but I think like if you're playing Olimar like at his peak, you're probably going to be like middle of top tier. But I think a better way to describe would be like he would be very much solo viable to win majors, to do anything. Like there's no I have to counterpick this. Let's put it that way.
So I struggle a lot with ledge trapping. Like I press buttons since I think it's a read-based kind of thing, but DeBuzz told me he reacts to things. What goes through your mind when you play?
So I'm kind of in that camp with you where I feel like I tend to be a bit more read-based at times. DeBuzz is very good at his reactive ledge trapping game with Olimar. Keep in mind that you're playing online, so you are inherently nerfed in terms of reaction. So that might not always be your fault if you're playing online a lot or practicing or whatever. If you can play reaction, I think that's really great because you kind of sit almost like a roll's distance away, and then you can just like F smash, you can do stuff like that. But I think there are other ways to do it. I like to be more proactive. I like to maybe go out there and then do like a rising dare from the ledge to try and two-frame you. And then if I miss, maybe it'll scare you into rolling from the ledge because that dare lingers there, and maybe I'll shield. And I try and get an idea of what you're going to do, kind of like you were saying, how it's read-based in a sense. That's not to say I don't ever play defensive or patient or reactionary and just sit back and F smash or down tilt or whatever I need to do. But that's my personal thing. It's a comfortability thing and understanding what you want out of it, and if you're willing to risk it. If you want a more concrete defensive or more concrete consistent kind of ledge trapping experience, you might be better off going for the reactionary gameplay that DeBuzz was saying. But I don't think it'd be bad to play around with, especially while you're experimenting. And just like, you need to understand how your opponent is responding to you at the ledge. If you go a certain way, what are they doing? Okay, so if you know that they like roll when you approach the ledge this way, that means you can punish the roll, right? Because you can scare them into it. At least in the kind of like straightforward first layer of it, right? Before anyone's really reacted again. So you can find ways to exploit that. And I'll try and show you what I mean. It's like right there. That was an instance. I back air your shield. And oh my gosh, sorry. I back air your shield and you roll there. That's a pretty common option. So next time it's like, all right, I exploit that, and then I opt to back air your shield, and I F smash the other way, and you get hit. Or I down tilt the ledge, and then that baits out a roll because you want to get away from it, and then I turn around and hit you. So it's understanding how to play, how to interact with the characters. That's Olimar at its best, is when you're interacting, like when you're understanding like that and knowing what your opponent wants to do, and you can really influence them pretty strongly with your character's tools.
Yeah.
But you were saying how you kind of just press button and it doesn't really work, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you mean by like you kind of just start attacked and hope they land?
Like I pick like, oh, he jumped like last time, I'm just gonna try to read a jump, and then most of the time it doesn't work, and I panic and I just press like all of the buttons.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's like right there, that was really good. That was reacting.
Right there is from, I would have never done that if I didn't coach with the buzz.
And that's good. That means it's working, you know.
Yeah.
And that's there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look, F smash is kind of like, it's like a meme with Olimar because everyone says you spam it. But I mean, there are times where it's just like, yeah, just spam F smash. Like, fuck, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
You know. So it's great to implement, and I think the best Olimars, or the best way to play Olimar, is incorporating both of those. Maybe your base is that reactionary slow, because you don't always have to get a punish, right? As long as you're not losing, that's good enough sometimes. So you don't always have to get a punish, but maybe instead you can kind of go, all right, I feel like I've been playing a little reactionary here, waiting for them to do something. I think I've got a good read on what they're going to do. Now I'm going to try and like read their jump, right? And you use it as a way to gather information. So you can punish them. Because if you're always F smashing at the ledge, you know, they might drop down and try and jump, or they might just jump from the ledge and try and do something. That's when you read them with a fair. And stuff like that can help a lot. You know, my stream loves to make fun of me about it because I always like go out off stage for dares. And I don't always hit them, you know, Wi-Fi's hard, character's hard, and stuff like that. But I'm like balls to the wall with it. And it doesn't always work, but I'm ride or die. And that's just my playstyle. But when I'm really serious, I do get a bit more reserved with that. But I like to, when I'm practicing, at least push the boundaries of it and see how good I can get at hitting those things.
So you would say that like you would give up a ledge trap just to get more data of like
in times, yeah. It's not like I'm always like, all right, I don't know what I'm gonna do here, but maybe I'll go for like a safer, less optimal, or less kind of rewarding punish and be like, let's see what happens here. Or let me just like hit him with a jab or a down tilt that I know is going to be a lot easier to hit, even though it's not going to give me something really big. Because I just want to, I'm fine with, you know, chipping someone down over and over again until I hit them with the right thing. Because if I can outplay them once, I can outplay them over and over again.
Yeah.
It's that confidence in my ability with the character.
So basically just get a little bit more confident and like
confidence is key. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing, because those moments where you're second guessing or you're unsure, that's frames where they're able to get away, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll see any of the best players for any character, you notice they don't really hesitate. Like when they do, they usually lose, because that's when the fear sets in. But when they're like feeling themselves, they're all over people.
So Corona's been like a long time, for like a year, but people have still been practicing, and there's been more Olimars like MFA, Cybers, people like that. Do you think who do you think like once offline comes back could be like a top level or like the best Olimar?
That's an interesting question. So I think there are. I play / talk with a lot of these Olimar players, right? Like I love the people that play this character, and I don't think it would be a stretch to say that when offline comes back, the best one, at least in the immediate, right? Like obviously anyone can do it with enough time. I don't think it would be surprising to say it would be either me, Shuton, DeBuzz, right? Like we're still really, really good with these characters. They don't always play them online because online Olimar is so fundamentally worse than offline. And you take someone like MFA, who I think has gotten really good, but it's also hard to say like how is he going to translate to a more large-scale stage offline where things change a lot. Because I've played him and he has a pretty distinct play style, but I feel like it's flawed in some ways, and he's able to exploit maybe the lack of understanding on his opponent's part. But as you get higher up in that hierarchy of players, they kind of just don't give a fuck what gimmick you have a lot of the time. You fight MKLeo or Tweak or someone like that, and they're like, yeah, I don't know what you're doing, but that's not going to work. You have to fundamentally outplay me a lot of the time. So I think if I had to say one of those players, one of the new, quote-unquote, new players who are upcoming, I would definitely give it to MFA, because I think he's very good and he learns really well. But I don't think he's just gonna come out the gate when we're like offline and be like MFA is the next like big one compared to like me to Bashutan. He might be up there with us, but I don't think it's gonna be so dominant on his part, if that makes sense.
It's just like you're just transitioning, because it's still gonna be like a little bit of a hard transition.
Because it's not like any of the other Olimars got worse per se. If anything, we might have gotten better. You know, we've been practicing online. I know I've been making a lot of strides to adjust my play and get a lot more patient and reserved in certain ways as well, because I'm naturally like hyper aggressive when I play. But that you can't do that online with Olimar. So I've had to really learn some new kind of strategies in a sense. And when I play offline, I feel so unhindered now. You know, I've had a couple times where I've been able to play offline and stuff like that, and it was great. And I feel like I'm going to be coming back super strong. So I imagine Shuton and DeBuzz are very much the same as well. I know DeBuzz has talked about when he plays Yuzu and stuff, compared to like, or even offline, like Olimar feels really good for him, because those, the fixes they gave us in 10.0 in December or whatever were huge, and that put the character in a much better spot. So I think it's hard to say exactly who would be who. I think the obvious choice is like Shuton, but it also depends on how much he travels, because he kind of fucks up a lot of Japan a lot of the time. Nice. But in the US, it can be different.
Yeah. This is not really an Olimar question, but has you ever met somebody who got mad at you for like telling like what they did wrong?
Like they got mad at me for giving advice?
Yeah. Has anybody gotten mad at you for that?
Yes. Funny enough, a good friend of mine. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to remember exactly how to tell the story, because it was years ago. It was like we read a weekly, and he was relatively new at the time. And we're sitting there playing. I'm like, "Oh, you get a DI," and he's like, "Could you not tell me that mid bracket?" And I was just trying to be nice, because I was trashing him, right? There was no chance he was gonna win. I tried to be nice, like, "Yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to patronize you. I was just trying to help you."
Oh, that's funny.
But no, most people are usually pretty good about it. So I've also gotten better about like not just giving it unwarranted. So I'll ask like, "Oh, do you want some advice?" If they ask me, I'm happy to give it. But like, I definitely don't give like unsolicited advice, in most cases anymore. Just because, yeah, people aren't always good to it. They might think you're talking down to them or whatever it is. And it's like, for me, at least on my end, it's like if I'm going my way to just give you a piece of advice when you're clearly getting your ass whooped, just trying to be nice, but I guess I can see how some people feel like that's not very nice. But most people are receptive to it. Depends on who you're doing. If they're a rager, if they like the John a lot and shit like that, they're probably not going to hear what you're talking about. And that's when I just laugh at them and just keep beating the hell out of them.
Yeah. So since the 3.0 nerfs and stuff like that, have you ever thought about picking up like a secondary or a new main?
Oh no. I play Olimar.
Never in your life?
That's how I play Smash Brothers. I love playing Olimar, so I'm gonna keep playing regardless. Never like I enjoy playing as other characters, right? Like I like playing Greninja, I like playing, you know, Mars and stuff. They're fun to play, and I've definitely like sandbagged with them in brackets before at like locals and stuff like that. But
He likes playing Mars.
no, Mars.
He likes playing Mars.
But I've never been like, man, Olimar can't do this. I need to pick up a secondary. I was just angry when they nerfed Olimar. It wasn't like I need to pick up a secondary. I was like, man, why did all these like babies have to go cry up a storm and get my character nerfed?
Yeah. I felt like it was kind of bullshit when Pikachu didn't get touched at all.
It was ridiculous. Snake untouched. I was like, he's doing the same as Olimar. What do you? Palutena didn't get shit for months. It was wild. And it felt very frustrating because as an Olimar player, you get a lot of hate. So it kind of like built off of that. But I've never considered picking up a secondary because I have faith in my character. And like I said earlier, like I know what this character can do. And just because I suck with him at times, or if I can't do it, doesn't mean I need to go pick up another character. That means I need to stop sucking. The Buzz is a very different mindset, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
He has his, and I think, you know, I don't want to badmouth him because I think he's a great player and a very smart guy, but I think he either sells his capabilities as a player short, or he thinks too highly of himself to think that it's the character, not him. It's one or the other. Because either he's like human, like, you know, error and things like that make this character unviable, and that's why I can't do it. Or it's either got to be that, or I'm so good that I should be winning, but the character just can't do it. And realistically, I don't think it's that. I know it's not that. I know he's not so good that's why Olimar can't win. So it's. Yeah, great character. Just you need to have a really solid mindset to play him long term because it is definitely draining. Because even with the fixes they've given him, there's always something out there. I mean, we can't even punish out of a parry most of the time without our Pikmin dying. So it's rough, but it's doable.
Where would you say why do people hate Olimar so much?
It was Brawl. I think did a lot of it. So, I don't know how familiar you are with the past Smash games. So, in Smash Bros. Brawl, the best character was Meta Knight, right? Like, he was busted. And even though he was by far and away the best, and there was a ton of Meta Knights, one of the other best characters, I believe he was like number 3 on the final tier list I made for the game. He originally did not start out that good, like with the way people were playing him, with Olimar. And Olimar in that game was cracked, dude. I'm telling you, you have not seen power until you play Brawl Olimar. So he had his up smash in that game was 3 frames less laggy, so it had 3 frames less lag than pre-patch Olimar ultimate up smash.
Really?
Yeah, and it hit hard.
And that's like a slower game.
Yeah, so that's a game where like combos weren't always a thing, right? Like they were much more few and far. You were comboing double up smash into up air, and it felt great. Oh my god, that character's so fun to play in that game. But so you had this absurd up smash, mad safe on shield, hit like a truck because purples hit hard. He had 3 kill throws, back forward up throw. Pivot grab had no lag, just like it did in Smash 4. So you could constantly spam pivot grab, right? So you have to approach a character who has F smash, which is safe, hits hard, up smash, which is great on shield, and then pivot grab, which has no lag. And pivot grab was like purple. Purple up throw was the up throw kill in that game, the big one. And it could kill you like 100 or 90. And so they would just spam the grab. And then they had 6 Pikmin, so if you got a lot of purples, it was a nightmare to deal with. His white side B did 6% in that game. That's about as much. That's a little bit more than it does now. And that game didn't have a 1v1 multiplier. It just hit that hard. His damage output was insane. You know, he also had his whistle. So you know how whistle has armor frames 2 through 7 in this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over double that in the other game. It was 2 through 16. Armor.
I hate Olimar too, dude. That's bullshit.
First active frame 21, so that's 5 frames of lag, and you could wave bounce it in the air to shift your momentum. So you could armor break on frame 2, and then also wave bounce to shift your momentum, so you would armor their attack, and then change how you're landing to make it even harder. The only downside Olimar really had in that game was his recovery was a shitty tether. and that's kind of what kept him in check. But people didn't like it because they were like, oh, you just spam the C stick, your smash attacks are safe, yada yada, and his smash attacks were safe, for the most part. And you just did a ton of damage. People didn't like it, so I put that statement that he's this lame campy because he did camp very well. It's just sit back, throw out smashes, wall them out with pivot grab, get a ton of side B damage, and then blow them up when you touch them for like 2 seconds. So it created that stigma, and that's kind of persisted. But even in newer games, I mean, he wasn't the most well-liked in Smash 4, and he was the worst he'd ever been in that game.
Yeah.
But a lot of those stigmas still persist. He's still a character that traditionally plays really defensive or very wall-heavy, and he also hits like a truck, and then you randomly die because you get hit for 3 seconds, and people don't like that. But I think a lot of it stems from ignorance in the sense that they don't understand how he works. So they're like, oh, that was nice. They're like, oh, he's broken. I don't, he's brain dead. It just plays itself or whatever. And it's like, as an Olimar player, you're like, no, you can't just mash like that. Like, your attacks will lose. But people don't, the regular player, the average guy, they don't think about that. So it kind of is like an ignorance turned to the hate thing. And they go, I don't like this character. He does all this, blah, blah, blah. He's brain dead. He's dumb. It's not fun. And then they just get angry.
I assume Olimar was easier in Brawl, right?
Yes and no. I mean, there were definitely things that were really generous about him, but you had a garbage recovery in a game where Meta Knight was the best character. So you could definitely trash a lot of low tiers, but I remember I was at a tournament, and I was fighting, you know the player Zero, I assume. He was really good in Brawl, played Meta Knight. He knocked me off stage, he nared, and I was like, oh, that's no problem, I'm going to whistle it and recover. So I whistled his first nair, and then he just nared me again, and I died. Took 3 hits, my stock was gone. So it's like, yes, certain things were definitely easy. You could, if you were fighting bad players, you could probably face roll them because of how hard he hit and how hard it was to deal with things like up smash. But good players definitely weren't going to let you do that for free. Also, his Pikmin were random in that game. So you didn't always get purples, you didn't always get what you wanted. It was actually random, and it could be influenced by the type of ground you were on. So like metal would give you more purples, so on things like Lilat or Frigate, you would get purples more often. So there was definitely some factors in there that could make it more crazy at times, but it was a different type of character. His boxing game was a lot less fleshed out, and it was more reliant on certain things. I would say it was definitely easier in some ways, yeah.
I would assume like Pikmin Manage. Actually, no, Pikmin Manage would be harder because
it's
random?
Weird. It was random. So when you saw the Olimar player get like 6 purples or even something close to that, you were like, okay, this is not good. He knows what he's doing.
Right, we've been playing for like 20 games, so what would you say is my like weakest link when it comes to like disadvantage, advantage, stuff like that?
I feel like you make it really easy for me to hit you after like you'll be put into disadvantage, and I don't think you mix it up that well. Like you've got your whistles down pat and stuff like that, but you never really get creative, I guess it feels like, with how you're recovering. You don't like zigzag, you don't weave in and out. It's kind of just like, all right, I'm going to go to the ledge, or I'm going to go on top of you. It's very straightforward. And while that definitely has its uses, I think you could be a little bit more creative. Like, you know how when I recover, I'll go really low and then go up, or I'll go like zigzag in the middle and weave past you. I think you could incorporate more of that. And that kind of bleeds into even your advantage state, where it's like, or your neutral, where you have a game plan and you kind of just stick to it to a fault at times. I think you need to experiment more, right? So if you notice the wing Pikmin dashes aren't working, like you did a few of them there and like none of them worked.
Yeah.
So that's when you need to go, all right, this isn't working. I've got to find a way to mix this up. And that is definitely making it hard for you. So that, how do I put this? You've got the foundation, but it's so linear that it's going to make it harder for you because you don't seem as reactive to information. You'll kind of fall back to that base game plan, and that will make it hard for you to I think, make those fine adjustments in the match. So, like, you know, when we're playing here, what would you say you struggle with the most when we're playing in these duels?
I'd say I struggle the most with just disadvantage. Like I feel like you're ledge trapping me hard, and like whenever I'm in disadvantage, I'm dead immediately.
And in the Ditto, you have to understand something as well. You know, we're playing the same character, so I am doing my best to exploit my understanding of your character. I go like, okay, I know you have this option, this option, this option, because I understand how Olimar works, right? So I'm trying to exploit your instinctual response to go, oh, I'm Olimar, I'd want to roll here. And then, you know, I'm punishing it. So you have to kind of take a step further and go like, okay, what options do I have? And not just like the straightforward ones, but like the real crazy mix-ups. Like how far can I push my timings on the ledge before I get hit? How much can I milk those little bits, those little interactions to make it harder for him? And that's why when we're fighting, you know, and you get me in disadvantage, it doesn't, like, you'll hit me with some stuff. You definitely have an idea of what you want to do. But it's pretty much only works when it falls into that place. So you need to be more open to the possibilities of how we're playing. Of how you can play the character and what things you can implement.
I feel sometimes I do just go brain dead monkey mode and just do what I always do, just go full autopilot. So
yeah.
I do need to work on that.
It's not easy. Like every player has their autopilot, and it's okay to have one, right? Like it's a natural thing. And I'll talk about it after this game because I kind of want to focus in when I explain it, so I don't, you know, botch it. But, like, the way you process information, at least the way I like to teach it, is you need to adjust how you're doing that so that you're letting yourself be more kind of open to the information. Because if you're constantly, like closing off your mental faculties while you're playing and just autopiloting, then you're doing a lot more subconscious learning than conscious recognition, which is really bad. Because that slows down the process so much.
Yeah. When would you say desyncs are best used?
You need to understand why your opponent would want to go there. So, like, a lot of times people go there after they take a stock, and that's when that's sometime you can try and exploit that. But you're really only wanting to use them if you feel like they're going to go to a ledge. Or in some cases, if you want to force them not to go to it, you can kind of do like a proactive desync or maybe start charging it. And be like, okay, you see me charging this, I know you don't want to go there. It's like right there, I was hovering. Yeah, you hit me, but you hit me with a fair. I'm not dead. There you go. That was really good. Go out there, use that dare to linger. That was, sorry to side tangent. That was an example of, like, sometimes it's okay to get hit as long as you're not dead. I view Olimar's. If I'm not dead, it doesn't matter. So you'll have to take, like, the lesser of two evils in certain instances.
So instead of fairing, I should have like back air to kill you.
You could have potentially, yeah, like done a quick turnaround back air. Yeah, that definitely could have been a better play. You could have maybe tried to go under then up air me. That's the way I recovered, but you ended up fairing me, so I was fine with that. But yeah. The desyncs, yeah, there's not like a singular best time to use it. It's what is your opponent doing? What are they gonna do? And then if you have an idea, you can exploit it, and that's pretty much the driving principle of them.
Oh no.
Nobody expects that. They're like, oh, I got back to, oh, all right, I'm dead. And that was another one of those, I'm in your head. I'm trying to punish you for knowing what you're gonna do. So it's like, I back throw, and this is something I've hit a bajillion people with. You get back thrown, you're like, I'm not dead. I don't need to burn a resource immediately. There's no way he's going to hit me. So I run off, instantly throw the purple, and I know it lines up perfectly with where you're going. So if you don't react to it, if you're not prepared for it, you let your guard down there. You thought, I'm away from him. It's fine. I punish you for that. Even when you're off stage, you have to be ready for that stuff.
So just always be ready and always know what
Yeah.
that character's
Don't
strengths are.
feel like you're just safe because you're not next to someone. Unless it's like Little Mac, you probably got to worry about they might clip you with something, just something dumb, So that was an example of me trying to exploit the difference in understanding of that situation. I had a game plan when I went for that back throw. I was ready for it. You weren't, and that's something I punished you for. But to talk about the autopilot thing, that as a concept, it's one of those things where you're going to probably autopilot in a lot of situations anyway. I definitely do, and that's fine. Oh, excuse me. But you need to be able to kind of zero in on certain situations when they happen. So like right there, we'll use that last interaction for that game as an example. When we're fighting, if we're in a little autopilot state, when I grab you, I got you in the back though. You need to ask yourself, one, how'd you get grabbed? Like what happened to cause you to get grabbed? Because you weren't planning on that, right? Yeah. And then you need to go, all right, I got grabbed, and then he backed at me, and then I got hit by the side B. Why did I get hit by that side B? Okay, I let my guard down. You need to internalize those moments where your game plan is not working. So, and then you need to break it down, whether it be in between stocks, whether it be during the game when you're off stage and recovering, go like, oh, I got grabbed there because I shielded at the wrong time. But just make a quick recognition of those moments and ideally have a response ready for them. But if you have to think about it after the set, that's fine. I've definitely lost mid-set, not had all the answers, and then I got to go back and try and be better for next time. And that's what you want to do as as an overarching theme, because that means during those games you're going to get better at pointing it out in the moment. It happens like, all right, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have jabbed his shield. It was unsafe. And that helps break that autopilot. But it's not something you can just do a lot of the time. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you're like, all right, yeah, I've been trying, but it's hard to break. It's something you have to actively try to do. So anytime you're playing with someone after we're done here today, or if we do a lesson in the future or whatever, you need to be trying to break that autopilot and go, oh, I got punished. Oh, what happened there? Oh, what happened there? And even you can even do it when you're winning, right? Like when you get a good interaction read, you can make a quick mental note, be like, oh, that worked because I already was going to do this. Or that worked because I pressured in this way. And the more you do that, the more you're able to kind of pause it and go, all right, I recognize what happened and why, and I know how to adjust, even if it's not always the right answer, but you're trying to adjust for next time. That's the important thing. Because when I'm playing the game, that's what I'm doing. Whenever I'm getting hit, whenever I'm losing, I'm like, why did I get hit? What happened? Oh, I got hit because I did this, or I didn't act fast enough. And I don't always have the right answer, but I definitely come up with something new. And that's what you have to do. As long as you're talking yourself, you're having a conversation with yourself, really. So as long as you're doing that, that's the important thing.
Yeah, this is really good advice. I didn't get this from the buzz, that's for sure.
Well,
so
they don't do it like me. That's good. But no, I'm glad that you're getting something out of it. It's not easy, especially when you got like character rushing you down, and that's why those rush down playstyles can be tough, is because they don't give you time to breathe. If we're always resetting the neutral after every hit, you'd have a lot easier time having that momentum broken. But it's up to you as the player to be like, I don't need you to hand me this break. I'm gonna find a way to get in there. It's kind of like if you think about like a computer, you know how your computer has a lot of background tasks running. So it'll be like you're running your Windows or whatever, your Mac or whatever, your operating system. That's kind of how your brain is. In the forefront you're running Smash, and you're playing it, but in the background you're calculating a lot of these things. You're making little mental notes. Your brain is essentially picking up on these things. And it's going to do it passively regardless. That's how we learn. That's how casual players or, children, they pick up on things. It's a passive experience. But when you take hold and you go, all right, I know how to identify these things. I've learned what to do here. It speeds it up exponentially.
Besides the just autopilot stuff, how would you say like everything else that I do is like just like executing stuff like combos and stuff like that?
It's not bad. It feels a bit like I don't want to say a default Omar, because you do definitely you do a few things that I wouldn't say are the most normal for like the average Olimar, like your use of wing Pikmin dashes. It really stands out to me because that's not something you see a lot. And I noticed you really like to come in with the aerials you're pretty aggressive with some of your smash attacks, and I like that, which is not bad, right? Like, it's kind of a time and place thing, and as long as you're finding a way to use it, that's really good. So not bad. I think other things you could work on are maybe experimenting your general combo trees, like your combo trees in general. And what I mean by that is, like, figure out, like, if you can get a Pikmin latch in there, or when you get the Pikmin latch, like, are you familiar with the do you know the term pick lag?
Pick lag, yeah.
Yeah, like, seeing how that changes things. You know, there's a reason some of the best Olimars are as destructive as they are, and yeah, it's partly like, okay, we understand advantage, but it's also sometimes I don't give them a choice. Like, it's not like a bunch of resets. It's just I hit you and you're gonna die. So I think you kind of experimenting with that would help a lot. But I think that's going to mesh with the topic we were talking about earlier with the confidence. The more confident you get in what you're doing, the more you're going to be likely to try things, because you're going to be faster and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I think I want to try this. I'm going to go for this.
I was ready for it that time. Oh, I'm dead though.
You were ready. And that's generally what I find is when I talk with students, when I do lessons with them, when I start pointing things out, they'll try and do it. Because your immersion's already broken sometimes when we're talking, right? So you might be more likely to pick things up since you're not, like, super try-hard, like, you know, music on focused. You're already talking with me, so it's easier to be like, why did I get hit there? You know? And that's good. That's the start of it. But, yeah, I think playing around with your Olimar more, because, like, when we're playing our combos, there's a lot of similar ones, the down throw fair, the down throw bear, stuff like that, the simple up smash combos. But then there's also a lot of tech chases, and you're not tech chasing that much. It's not easy when you're fighting someone who knows what they're doing, but, like, you know?
Yeah. Usually against my friends, I do a lot of jab blocks, but since, like, you actually know how to tech, it's kind of hard.
Yeah. No, I feel that, dude. Olimar's jab block game is monstrous.
Yeah, I kill people at like 60 sometimes. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who just tweeted at me saying like I hate Olimar.
Oh yeah, my region hates it too. They're not happy about that.
Down Nair up tilts into up air isn't true, like the up air part, right?
I think there might be certain instances where it is, especially with pick lag, but not all the time, no.
Yeah. And also, is down tilt up smash this thing?
That probably depends on the character. I would say down tilt fair would probably be better. Because they're maybe they're DIing in.
Oh my god. So you plucked, then whistled to make blue the leader, and then you did that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So like the blue, the red, yellow, blue, they go high enough to get on most platforms on legal stages. White and purple, you have to desync other ways. So I pluck, and then I know the blue is going to go to the front of my line with my whistle, and then I'm able to make it front of the line. You shield, and then I grab you.
Yeah. Shouldn't implement more desync stuff. It'll make my Olimar more defined.
So yeah, like I kind of ride low, but like it's not like straight low. It's kind of at a weird, up and down pattern to when I'm recovering like that. Like I want to make it awkward for you.
Yeah. Give me the hardest time. Have you ever, this is more a fan question, have you ever had like a bracket demon?
Yeah, MK Leo. No, like I kid you not, he beat me like 8 times in like over the course of like 6 months. He was like the one guy that I could not beat. But outside of him, yes, there was a player in Florida who doesn't really play anymore, but in Smash 4 he played Sonic. And his name was Static Manny, and he was the thorn in my side. Sonic Olimar in that game was a fucking nightmare. Sonic was better, Olimar was worse. Everything was clanking. Oh, so bad. And I did beat him. Like, there were times where I beat him, but it was so often that I would just get fucked up by him. No matter how hard I try, or I beat him in winners and lose in losers, just because of how bad it was. And he was really good. He was a very, very smart player. But that was probably one of the other ones. I've definitely had other players that have given me trouble. But in Ultimate, I would say MKLeo feels like the biggest one, especially early on, because he was just always there to fuck me up.
Yeah. How was Smash for Olimar?
I thought he was bottom of top tier in that game too, but not everyone thought that opinion. That was a lot more divisive. Most people put him at like high tier. He was better in some ways, worse than others. Mostly worse. His aerials also clanked like his smash attacks for some reason. So you would have to cut your advantage stage short a lot, because if they would mash an attack, it would just lose. Your aerial would just lose. His up smash was like stupid laggy. I think that was like in response to Brawl up smash. His F smash though was safer, and it was really good. His pivot grab had no lag, similar to Smash 4, so you could pivot grab. His up throw was like stupid weak though. Like it was not a good up throw. In this game, it's the strongest up throw in the game, I'm pretty sure. But in that game, it was like Mewtwo's was so much better. It was really depressing. But he did have one of the best combos in the game. He had down throw Rar Bear, which if you did it right, I killed, no lie, I would grab the foxes at 40 and they would die. With rage. Because you would grab them with red down throw near the ledge, and then you would Rar Bear it, and it would combo into purple back, and they would die at 60 at the end of the combo. It was insane.
Yeah, I went to a friend's house like a week ago. We played Smash 4 just so I can get a see what it was like. Kicked Olimar, up smashed once, and then quit.
Yeah, that was a read move. You did not throw that out. Although, funny enough, it did combo out of down throw on certain characters. You could true combo, no lie. You could down throw, up smash, up air cloud, true combo. And it did a lot of damage. His whistle was worse in that game too. It was frames 6 through 12, I think. Armor, but he was good. I mean, his Pikmin multipliers were worse. But you had a tech in that game that I am so mad they took out of this game. It was called Zombie Pikmin. And essentially what that meant was, you know the concept of on-hit desyncs? You hit a Pikmin, they hit a Pikmin when it starts, and instead of teleporting to you, it hits where it is, and it releases?
Yeah.
Okay, so take that, but the Pikmin can't die. Ever. Like, it'll come back to life and finish its attack. That was in Smash 4, and oh my god, was it good. You could pair, like, there was no, oh, I perfect shielded, my Pikmin died. You perfect shielded, and you had time, they're eating a fucking smash attack.
That's why you hate pairing in this game so much.
It's a spit in the face, because he's the only character that has that issue. But that mechanic in that game made on-hit desyncs insane, because their Pikmin would always live. It would always get the attack out. And there were some other cool shenanigans you could do with it, but they took it out. They made Pikmin die in this game, as well as reducing their health in this game and making the damage everyone does go higher. So Olimar had some really cool stuff in that game, but he also had some real shitty things, like his weakness on like up smash or on up throw, up smash being super laggy, aerials clanking. Overall, just like worse damage. It was weird. It was also hard because you're playing a two-stock game, and he didn't have like a cheesy mechanic to just kill you. He didn't have like the multi-hit rage nonsense or the crazy ladder combo you're dead instantly. Like he's a bit more honest in that regard. Still good though, in my opinion. And I think he handled certain top tiers pretty well, like Diddy Kong, Zero Suit, Sheik. He did fine against all of them.
How successful, since you see me play, and since my adaption's not that great, how successful do you think I could be in tournaments? Like with the state I'm in now?
Well, I don't know where your scene is, but like, if I was giving you like a general vibe, I think you would definitely not go 0-2. I would be kind of surprised if you went 0-2. If you did, I think it'd probably be more nerve-based, like you kind of you weren't able to execute on the game plan entirely just because you were a bit nervous, which is understandable. I don't know if you'd win. I don't know, like your scene, but I definitely don't think you'd be bad. You might just have to adapt to certain things, get used to it. Because most likely what would happen is like the better players in your area.
Yeah, I'm going to play, and like the locals are like Mars goes to. I forgot what they're called, but.
Okay, New England?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, New England definitely, if you're going to the local Mars goes to, or like the area, like, yeah, it's definitely going to be hard because those, they've got their own sect of strong players. So I don't, I think you going like 2-2, 1-2, 3-2, depending on how they seed you, because that can make a big difference. It can make it a lot harder. wouldn't be unfounded. You might not do that necessarily. You know, tournaments are dynamic. There's a lot of factors that come into play. But I don't think you're... I've played some really bad people at tournaments, and I don't put you in that camp.
Yeah.
I've played people that I'm like, you don't even know what game we're playing. You have competence with your character. You know about the tech. You don't need to always apply the tech, but you seem to have a solid foundation, right? Like, I assume you know how DI works and all of that, the intricacies of it.
And that 2 weeks ago, actually.
Okay, so I do want to clarify, because this is a rather important thing. You know the difference between DI and LSI, correct?
I haven't heard of LSI in my life before.
Okay, so it's called Launch Speed Influencer, and it's essentially a different type of DI. So let me hear your... What is DI to you? Let me hear that.
It's during like combos, like throws, or you angle it a certain way and it like adjusts your launch distance, like the way you launch, and like makes it harder for combos.
Yes. Do you understand how it works, like how you're choosing which direction to do?
No.
Okay, we're gonna go into a match. I'm gonna show you.
All right.
So the DI, I'll start with DI. DI is directional influence, and essentially what it is in I think every game except maybe Smash 64. When you get hit, you get sent in a line, like you will get hit a certain way. DI is essentially you are holding your stick perpendicular to that direction to curve your direction. So you're influencing your direction, and what that does is, if I knock you straight up, right, you have to travel less distance to get to a certain point. If I curve that line, you have to travel more distance to get to that same endpoint. So therefore, you travel more distance, allowing you to get out of knockback, get out of tumble, get out of hit stun faster. So what you want to do is, like, let's say, do you know how to DI Olimar up throw?
No.
Okay. So you DI Olimar up throw. I want you to, let me get like 50% on you, right? Okay, that's fine. Come here. I'm gonna up throw you, and I don't want you to hit it. Don't even hold your stick, all right?
All right.
So you see how you went almost straight up. It was like 1 degree, about 1 or 2 degrees to the left, right? Now hold straight out and like left on your stick and slightly down, ever so slightly down. All right?
Okay.
See the difference in that? You were much more to the left.
But it looked like I went the same angle, like the same like vertical angle.
It is, but you're influencing it. Here, I'll do it again. Hold down, or left and down. You're going a lot more left. And what you're doing is you're covering that same distance. You're having to cover more distance to get to that same endpoint because you're curving it. The line has to travel more because you're holding perpendicular. You're going up, you're holding horizontal, right? That's perpendicular. So, and because, like I said, up throw sends it like an angle of like 91 or 92 degrees, you want to hold horizontally out and then slightly down. So if you were facing this way, right? If we're facing this way, it would be the same thing except you hold right and then down slightly. And that's how you're going to live. Now hold, now I'm going to hold, I want you to hold straight in on this up there, all right?
Like straight in, no down?
Yep. You see the difference in that?
I didn't die.
You didn't. Well, my move's also mad stale.
That's true.
But there's a distinct difference. And that if you DI'd in, you're going to die earlier because you're correcting the angle. You're going even farther straight up. So that is DI, and that applies to pretty much every hit that sends you into like tumble. I believe it's every hit that puts you in tumble. I believe you can DI. Don't quote me on that exactly. If you really want to get into the specifics, there's probably people a lot more qualified to give you the more scientific terms for it. But that's what it is. You're holding perpendicular in every direction. So if I F smash you, right? If I was to F smash you, which way do you think you would want to hold if I forward smashed you right here?
If here I would just hold right, like just straight right.
Not straight right, because F smash doesn't send. I want you to give me like 40% and F smash me. All right, here. Now F smash me. I didn't go straight right. I went up into the right. You notice that? So
I
what?
Noticed it, but I don't
that
know
was
how,
me. Sorry, go on.
I don't know how you could ever like figure that out in like a real-time match if you don't know it already.
That's why you learn these things. You build up an almost encyclopedic knowledge of the game. These are like these passive understandings. You a lot of the time you have a general idea on how moves work. You said F smash you're gonna send to the right. You're gonna hold opposite direction, and that's true to some extent. But what you would want to do, if that sent me like, at this weird diagonal, you would want to hold perpendicular, which is essentially that mirrored version. So if I F smash you to the, if I F smash you here, and you were going straight up into the left, right? Or if you went like this weird diagonal, like over here, you would want to hold the opposite direction, like in and up like that, and that cancels it out. So if I F smash you to the left, you would want to hold right and then go slightly in and up. Like, not like the up smash, but like, I would say like a solid like 45-degree angle, right? And that's going to bend the angle upwards because you want to bend DI. Here, let me show you. Your goal is to bend to these corner blast zones because that's the most distance you can travel. Because if you bend it closer to the blast zone horizontally, I apologize, this is really confusing to talk about so much stuff. I'm just trying to explain it all. If you get hit, your goal is to live. So you need to create as much distance as possible. And 9 out of 10 times, the most distance is curving your move to go all the way up here. Right? Because that's the most distance you can get. If you get straight to the blast zone on the side, you're not going to make it. Okay? So when I forward smash you here, you would want to hold in and then slightly up. So like that 45 degree, like I was saying, and that's going to be perpendicular to the angle F smash sends you, and that's going to help counteract to that knockback, and you're going to go angling it up slightly to the blast zone, and that's going to reduce the distance you take before you can act, and that will help you survive a lot more. So sorry, go on.
So what I did usually is if I'm getting thrown up, I hold it straight down. If I get hit left, I go straight right.
I'm so happy you said that because not only are you very wrong, but that's what I used to do. And we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. Okay. Don't ever do that. Don't ever hold down. No, but that actually is a good instinct to have, and funny enough, that's what LSI is. So DI is directional influence. It is that perpendicular line. No matter where you get hit, 360 degrees, you hit a perpendicular line, you try and curve that puppy to the blast zone. Sometimes it's even fine to go down. Like if you get hit at one of these awkward angles, like Ganondorf's F tilt, it sends you really far out, right? It's a really good kill move.
Yeah.
That move sends, I feel like, at like a down and out angle like this. So sometimes it's better to curve it down there. Because you're Olimar, you can recover from that distance. So just curve it to the blast zones, what you feel. You're going to have to relearn these things as you fight characters, take note of how they send you in these moves. But hitting that perpendicular angle is going to help you survive a lot. Now, DI is coupled with something called LSI, which was implemented in Smash 4. It used to be called vectoring. And what that is if you hold the opposite direction of the way you get hit, that inputs an opposing force. So if I hit you to the right and you hold left, you are going to input LSI to the left that will reduce the overall knockback you take. So that's what you're thinking with the up and down, right?
So that would have been a good idea in Smash 4.
No. There's a catch. They nerfed that. So you used to be able to LSI in every direction, right? And they changed it to where you can't LSI in like a cone of like, I don't know the exact angle. I could send you to a dude's Twitter if you scan through this stuff, that would know. Essentially like a 30-degree cone up and down. Where if you, like, so if I up throw you, right, with Olimar, it's in that vertical cone of degrees. If you hold down, it will do nothing. You will not input an opposing force. So that's why when I up throw you, you just do the traditional DI. You hold perpendicular to the angle, and that will bend your trajectory, and that's the best way you can live. Now, if I hit you horizontally, right, if I forward smash you, then you can input an opposing force, and that will counteract some of that force and reduce the overall knockback. But the cool thing is you can add DI and LSI together to make the most effective way to live, right? So when I told you how to DI that forward smash before, how I said hold that like 45-degree angle in, that is a mix of both. Because if you were just DIing the forward smash, you could hold out and up, and you just pretty much need to angle your stick to go to that blast zone, right?
Oh, okay.
But since you want to LSI, you want to hold in and up. So you get the up, like that 45-degree up, right? That counteracts the forward smash, and the in counteracts, it adds the LSI to counteract the force overall.
I thought you were about to tell me that I have to like hold like straight
No,
back and then do it.
no, no,
I
no.
thought like I'm done with this
No,
game.
no, 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 no. It kind of meshes together to make one unique input. So, the cool thing about LSI too is you can do it at lower percents. You can hold out to maybe shorten combos. So you could like get hit and then you're holding out, and that's gonna knock you farther away. But that LSI really it works for horizontal moves and like those diagonals. It's very, very much not a vertical thing. Vertical is mainly just DI, but for most everything, you want to do DI and LSI. Are there any questions or anything you're unsure of? I'm happy to answer them. It's a very complex subject. I'm glad I could teach you, though, because I used to do that same thing. My friends had to teach me the hard way. I was dying in Project M to my boy, who was up there with Lucas. He'd be like, why are you dying so early? I'm like, I don't know, I'm DIing. And he's like, how? I'm like, I'm holding down because I want to go down. And he's like, what? That's not how you DI. So I had to learn. So that's totally understandable, man. But yeah, do you have any questions about that?
So there is a traditional way though, right?
For DI?
So no move
DI
has a specific DI, right?
DI is the universal way to influence your direction. That will work for every direction, essentially. Every move has its ideal DI. So, like, my up throw is that out and slightly down. That is the optimal way to DI Olimar up throw. To live.
So does that mean every character's move has a different way to DI it?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of overlap because a lot of moves send at similar angles.
Yeah.
But the rule of thumb is when you get hit by a move, try to hold your stick in a way that's going to curve that knockback to the blast zone, to the corner of the blast zone. Usually the top, sometimes the bottom, like I was telling you. And that's how it's going to work. So if you get hit by Marth forward smash, you want to curve it up. You want to hold your stick in to LSI and counteract some of that knockback, and then you want to hold up at an angle that you feel is perpendicular to getting that knockback, so that you get closer to that corner blast zone.
I think I get it a little bit.
Yeah, it
is a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest, but when you're playing from now on in the future, just get out there and try to, when you're getting hit by things, try to hold your stick in a way that's going to, one, hold in generally if you're getting hit horizontally or something like that, and that knockback to cut down on that force, but also hold it in a way that's going to curve your knockback to that blast zone. And then vertical stuff, if you're like getting hit straight up by like an up smash, just hold, whatever's going to get you to the corner of the blast zone. If it's sending you inwards, you're going to hold to the left. If it's sending you outwards, you're going to hold, to the right generally, assuming your direction you're facing. So like when I up smash you with Olimar, like if I sweet spot up smash you, it pulls you in generally. Like, depending on how you DI. But if you go out, it can be harder to combo. And that's why sometimes DI can change things up so much. If you hold in here when I up smash you, like, if I do something like that, I can punish you. But if you go out, it might make the combo a little bit worse. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And that's why mixing up DI can help so much. And you'll play around with it more. And this isn't even touching on Smash DI. But, which is a totally much more high-level tactic. Which I don't really think you need to worry about right now. But as long as you have that foundation with the LSI and the DI, you should start living a lot better. And rule of thumb, go to the corner of the blast zones, especially the top ones. Just hold your stick in a way that you feel like it's going to curve it really well, and you should be all right.
Huh.
It's a lot, I know. But it should digest. I mean, there's definitely some guides out there. Let me look, actually. How to DI. So I can send you a couple videos. I'll look up some on YouTube that might have an alright. There's actually Beefy Smash Dudes.
Yeah.
They have a video how to DI. It says how to survive longer DI and LSI, and they're pretty good at explaining. I can send you that if you want, and I definitely recommend checking it out. They'll probably have better visuals for you with like controller inputs and stuff. But that will expand on that concept for you so that you can kind of take that and implement that. And that's a universal mechanic that will help you no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, and you'd say it's really useful because you live longer.
It is arguably the most important mechanic to know. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the difference between dying at like 90 and dying at like 110. And when you're playing a character like Olimar, who's light as hell, you need to be dying as late as possible.
Yeah. Because like I feel I hear like some people like like commentators being like, oh, that DI was terrible, and I'm like, how did you not DI that correctly? You're so dog shit.
No, part of the reason DI is hard, and this is something cool with Olimar, is sometimes you get caught off guard. Maybe you were DIing one way, but then they hit you with something you weren't expecting, and it mixes you up. Like maybe it was a weird sour spot that sends you the other way. Or maybe you expected them. A really cool example. So Olimar has two kill throws, essentially. It's forward throw and up throw. Both are extremely fast, and they have opposite DI angles. So if I grab you at the ledge right there, and you're at like 100, 105, what do you DI? Do you DI for up throw or forward throw? You don't know. It's a guessing game. So when I up throw you, if you DI'd for forward throw, you're dead. You DI.
That's what mixing up DI means.
That's what it's about. But that's an aggressive use of it. I'm making you mix up your DI. Whereas defensive would be, you get hit by an attack and you DI in a way they're not expecting. Maybe you DI in, but they were going for the out DI and then they missed their combo because it can influence it a lot. But for the Olimar example, if you DI Olimar's forward throw, it's like in and slightly up as well, and that counteracts that forward throw angle. But if you DI up throw like that, you're dead. You're making it easier to kill you. But if you DI up throw, you hold out and slightly down, that makes the forward throw even stronger. Because now you're holding out, you're putting in an increased force on the throw grab, and you're correcting the angle to go slightly down. It's a nasty mix up with Rage.
So how much do you like think about that?
About
in a real match.
About DI or about that mix up specifically?
About DI in general.
I DI literally everything. I mean, there's times where I'm like, I will distinctly in my mind go, I want to DI this a certain way. I'm pretty good about instinctively DIing things, but there's times where like, I want to DI this combo in and mix them up, or I want to DI this throw this way and mix them up. And sometimes I guess wrong. That's the nature of it. It's a very fast game, so it's in the moment. You have to be prepared, but it is something that you beat into your mind.
And like you think in your mind, like, I think he's gonna DI this, I'm gonna use this move here.
Yeah, and a great example, and this is a great way to kind of like transition into us just like kind of wrapping this up for you, is so I told you about that Olimar combo down throw raw bear in Smash 4, right?
Yeah.
So the reason that worked so well in Smash 4 isn't because they necessarily changed how the Pikmin interact. They made Olimar's down throw angle in Smash 4 was a lot steeper. It made it a lot closer to Olimar. They actually made it way farther out in this game. You would go a lot farther. However, it's a DI trap. In a way, people are dumb at this game, and they are scared of Olimar, and that fear is something you could exploit. So let's say I am near the ledge, and I grab somebody with a red, right? Especially, it's so good with a red, because you have that lesser knockback on the throw. If I grab somebody, their thought isn't DI close to Olimar, their thought is I have to get as far away from, Sorry, let me rephrase that, I messed that up. Their thought isn't let me DI to the blast zone, it's let me stay as far away from the blast zone as possible. So you run and grab somebody, and if they're not well practiced and they don't really know what they're doing, you grab them, immediately down throw. They're holding in, because they don't want to go, they don't want to go to the blast zone. So they're like, I have to stay as far away as possible. They DI in, that puts you way closer to Olimar. You can connect into a back air in this game in like 80 and kill them. Because you down throw, they hold in to DI it, because they think I have to stay away from the blast zone. And you're like, all right, thanks. Now my combo works because you didn't DI out. You're closer to me. I'm mixing up your DI. I'm catching you slipping for not properly understanding. Get your punish. And if they DI out, then they're still off stage.
And it's that important to where it could make or break a combo.
It is massive. I mean, yeah, if you DI things wrong or don't DI them at all, that will make combos last way longer than they could in certain cases. There are still combos like a Mario ladder on Yoshi's Story you're probably going to have to take no matter how you DI, right? But if you're like letting Olimar go to town on you with his up smash combos, that can be a real big difference. Or you could die really early and stuff like that. Especially on throws, you want to know how to DI them to cut down certain follow-ups and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's a...
It's a lot. And kind of the theme of this that I want you to take forward after this lesson is you need to, that'll fall into the general awareness that I want you to start working on. So when you're practicing, you're like, all right, how do I do this? How do I practice this? Like, did I get hit by this? Did I DI that wrong? What I do here? And that's going to increase your general game awareness. That's going to make you better at the game overall. So next time or in the future when you're playing, you'll know why things are going wrong. You'll know the best way to handle it a lot of the time. And you might not always execute it on that in the moment, but you can recognize and go, okay, I didn't do this right. I got to work on it for next time. And it's that constant effort to try and refine your gameplay in that way. And that'll come in time. Just keep talking yourself through these interactions. Let yourself really breathe. Don't be afraid to talk. Sometimes you're going to be like, oh, I'm dumb. I shouldn't have jabbed there. If you got to say it out loud, say it out loud. Whatever it takes to really help you internalize that thought process so you're breaking that autopilot as much.
Yeah, and now that I learned about DI is now in my brain, so I can
It's so
that'll
good.
also help
It's
it.
so good. I'm so glad I taught you that because that's such a fundamental thing. I'm sending you that thing on BB Smash Dude right now. One sec. Okay. But yeah, it's great. Any closing thoughts you have and stuff like that we can do to wrap this up for you?
All I really gotta say is this was 50 times more worth than I probably should have paid. I should have paid like $100 for this.
I'm flattered. I try to keep my prices good. I'm broke. I understand other smashers are broke. That's just how it is. If you did like it, I don't know if you use Twitter and all that stuff. If you don't mind shouting your boy out, it's just the more people.
I saw your reply on that.
To Rivers, yeah. No, it makes such a world of difference. And I was just like, I'm at the point where like I feel like I'm a pretty good teacher. I like to think I am, and I like teaching people. It's really fun, and if I can help people, that's really good. So I'm glad it was a much more enjoyable and helpful experience than you had before, or what you anticipated. Hopefully, this is kind of the first of an eye-opening experience for how you can play Smash, because it's one of those things where you never really stop learning. It's always just like more and more and more, and having your eyes open to those things is so great, and it just makes it easier for you to just absorb all that information.
Yeah, I get that. When will I be seeing the video on
I
your
would
YouTube
say
channel?
probably by the end of this week, probably by like this weekend at the latest. I usually try and get them uploaded within 2 to 3 days after, but I'll send you a link whenever I do. So I would say by the end of this week at the most.
Alright, so I don't have to just check your channel every day, you'll just send it to me?
No, you could do that if you want, but I'll send it to you too.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for booking this. Definitely don't hesitate if you want another one in the future. Maybe if you want to give it a little bit or something and you want to test yourself. But I feel like there's a lot more work, and I love coaching Olimars too because there's so much that I can just try and cram into their brain. And right now we're on a very fundamental level with you, so I think once you get a lot of that, more of that down pat, we can really push the limits of like the character person itself.
Yeah.
Or even if you play secondary or anything. But yeah, thanks so much for doing this, man. I'm gonna cut it off here just because we started a little bit early too, and I gotta go prep for this next lesson.
Yeah, good luck with that. I forgot about that.
Thank you. I will see you around. If you ever have like a really one-off question, or you're like, I don't understand this, don't hesitate to send me a DM. I'm always happy to help students after the fact too, the occasional thing here or there. But yeah, I'll let you know, man. Have a good day.
Alright, good games.